right, so today we are talking about decimal fractions, and that's going to continue our thought process on place value, but we're going to kind of go a little bit more in depth today. So I'm going to talk about what that looks like, and we'll go a little bit more into the metric system because we talked about that last week, and I kind of want to go a little bit deeper on that and make sure you understand it because it's crucial to understanding place value and decimal fractions. So we'll start with the metric conversion today. So we'll go ahead and get going on that. So first things first, I'm going to use a nice blue. All right, so remember when we talked about decimal conversion, and we talked about the metric system, right? And when we change from one unit of measure to another. And so, for instance, if I asked you, what would 5 kilometers or kilometers be in centimeters? Okay, so if we had a question mark here and we said, what would this be in centimeters, right? And so in order to do this, we have to remember the metric system and also its place values. And so it becomes really easy, and you can always have this with you as a point of reference or just memorize it, but what each of these mean, and it's going to help you later on as well. So I'm just going to do that for you, and we can go through it. So kilo means 1,000, right? And hecto means 100, okay? And then we have a deca. Deca we get from the term decade, so that's 10, right? And no prefix is just the meter. No prefix is 1, right? So if there's nothing there, in this case it would be the meter. It's just 1. We can say just no so no prefix. Prefix is the beginning of it, so like kilometers, right? The next one is deci, right? And deci means 0.1, right? Or 1/10, so it can mean either or. And centi, right? Which is where we want to go, but centa or centi means 0.01 or 100th, 1/100th. And then we have milli, and again, I'm not really sure about this, but we have like millipede and centipede. I don't know if that corresponds with how many feet they have, like milli meaning 1,000. I'm not sure. So that's kind of the breakdown, and this is what we really want to remember in this case. And so when we're converting this, we need to think, do we want it to get bigger or smaller? And the reality of it is that 0.05 kilometers is a bigger or a further distance than what a centimeter would give us, right? We talked about 1 meter having 100 centimeters, and we have to kind of think like that when we're doing this. So if we take 0.05 kilometers, I'm going to abbreviate it so we can make abbreviations for these. I'll abbreviate them both. And we wanted to turn it into centimeters. Is it going to be multiplication or division? And so we have to think, are there going to be more centimeters in a kilometer, or are there going to be more kilometers in a centimeter? And in this case, there's definitely going to be more centimeters in a kilometer. So when we were going to convert to centimeters, we want it to get bigger. And so in this case, we can do this a couple of different ways. We can look at how many it goes down, right? So from here to here, how far we have to go down to get to centi, right? Or we can kind of break it up for ourselves. So for instance, if I wanted to get down to meters instead of centimeters, I can multiply it by 1,000, right? Because we have the 1,000 here, and I'm going to multiply it by 1,000, and I'm going to get 50, right? So I can do that because I know I'm going to multiply by 1,000. It's going to get bigger, so it's going to move over 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 1, 2, 3 zeros, sorry. So it's going to move over 3 times, which is 50 meters in this case. Remember the no prefix, so I brought it down there. And now what happens when I want to bring it all the way down to centimeters, because that's where our original question is. And so when we're multiplying that, we're going to multiply it by 100, because it's 100. It's 2 more spots down, and so it's 100. It's 100 centimeters. Okay, and the reason why it crosses out, I'm going to talk about that too and show you, because I think it's important to remember, especially when we're doing fractions. So looking at this, we would find that this is actually 5,000 centimeters. So 0.05 kilometers is going to be 5,000 centimeters. Now, that is the conversion. Now, we could have done that right away and started with the 0.05 and just counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We knew it was going to be 5 zeros, right? And so, well, you don't count that one, so because we're going to it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And so then we would be multiplying by okay, and then by 100,000. So if we did that, that should give us our 5,000. So that would be 5 zeros. So 1, 2, and then if we're doing it down here, it'd be a little easier to see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there we go, and that would go from kilometers to centimeters. So I converted it. Now, I think it's really important to recognize that we can go both ways. So for instance, if I had 600 centimeters, and I asked myself, how many meters was this? How many meters was that? I go back to my original outline and say that, well, here's a centimeter here, right? And then we have a decimeter here, which is 1/10, and then we have the meter here, which is just 1. We can say, well, it's 2 times, but now it's division. Okay, so we're going the other way because centimeters is a smaller. It's smaller. It's a 1/100th of a meter. So when we do this, we're going to divide, and in this case, we're going to divide by 100. And so when we divide by 100, or we can divide by 10 squared, right? Same thing, exponential form. So in this case, when we do that, the decimals right here, we can move it over 1, 2. It's 6 meters, right? So that is how we would go the other way. Is we would divide. So going this way, we're going to divide, and going this way, we're going to multiply. So and it multiplies by 10 each step and divides by 10 each step. So that is the metric system and conversion. So this is really, really crucial to understand. And so the last thing that I wanted to show you was why this is happening, and this is for advanced. Okay, so this is a little advanced because we're going to talk about this later on, because right now you can just do this and it will work every time. But if you want to get a little advanced or a little challenge and understand what's happening, I'm going to show you. So let's go back to our first one, 5 kilometers, and we're trying to find centimeters, right? And what we did is, remember, we can multiply by 100,000 to get to centimeters, right? Because we dropped down that many times. And here is the reason why this works. I'm just going to show you. So this is 5 kilometers, right? And it's times 100,000. And remember, the answer was 5,000 centimeters. Okay, it's 100,000 centimeters for every 1 kilometer. So for every 1,000 centimeters, we're gonna go 1 kilometer, right? So if we lined up a kilometer, we would be able to fit 1,000 centimeters on it. That's why. And so when we multiply this, and this is why this works, this is why your answer doesn't have kilometer, centimeter, okay? It just has centimeter. I'm going to show you, because when you have the same of something, for instance, kilometer is there, so if we multiply this out, I'm going to do it down here, this is what we would have, times, oops, I'm going to put it all under 1, because you could do that with multiplication, times 100,000 centimeters, okay, over 1 kilometer. Anything over itself, for instance, 1 over 1 is always 1, right? So anything over itself, this is a little advanced, but these cross out, which is why you're left with centimeters, and in this case, it's 5,000, right? And so when we do this, that's what we would get, and that's why we only have 1 unit of measurement when we're multiplying and we're doing our conversions. So that's a little advanced, but I wanted to throw that out there and kind of get you in that mentality. And so hopefully that helps you a little bit better with the understanding. But remember, we'll go back to that beginning. Remember, go back and try and memorize this, or write this down, because this is really important. You can write this down somewhere. You can write it in your math journal. You can write it on a piece of paper. Just have it with you. This is going to help you remember. And it's the same thing with place value. If you remember, 1, 10, hundred, thousands, 10,000s, and same with the other way, it's really going to help you. So going back to that is always important. So good luck.